If you've ever wondered why some people seem to break free into success, while others remain trapped in struggle, the answer often lies not in luck or opportunity, but in habits. The small, quiet patterns of thought and action that over time shape the entire course of a life. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share with you a truth that is as old as civilization itself. The habits you hold in your mind determine the wealth you hold in your hand. Success, like poverty, is rarely an accident. It is the direct result of the way we think and the way we act. And if you wish to transform your financial future, you must first identify the habits that are silently keeping you poor. The first habit is making excuses instead of taking responsibility. It is astonishing how many lives have been wasted by the simple words, "I can't." Those who cling to excuses hand over the steering wheel of their lives to circumstances, never realizing that circumstances are shaped by decisions. A man who excuses himself from opportunity because of lack of time, education, or resources remains where he is. But the man who takes responsibility, even in hardship, discovers doors where others see only walls. Remember this: excuses are the chains that keep people bound to mediocrity. The second habit is procrastination. Opportunity rarely knocks twice, yet so many wait. Wait for the right time, wait for the perfect condition, wait for someone else to act first. But waiting is the grand illusion. While you hesitate, life moves on without you. Great fortunes, great careers, and great achievements are built not on waiting, but on beginning. Start now. Begin with what you have. A seed planted today is better than a forest imagined tomorrow. The third habit is short-term thinking. The poor man looks for immediate gratification, the quick pleasure, the easy road, the fast reward. The wealthy man plants seeds for the future, willing to forego today's comfort for tomorrow's abundance. Every fortune you admire was built by someone who thought long-term. The habit of sacrificing today for tomorrow separates those who build empires from those who spend their lives chasing pennies. The central truth is this: you will always get from life not what you wish for, but what you habitually prepare for. Your excuses, your delays, your short-term thinking, they prepare you for poverty. But your discipline, your action, and your long-term vision, they prepare you for wealth. So I ask you today, which habits are you choosing? Will you continue to live chained to excuses, hesitation, and short-sightedness? Or will you rise, take responsibility, act with urgency, and think beyond the moment? The choice is yours. Begin now. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Replace excuses with ownership. Replace delay with action. Replace short-term pleasure with long-term purpose. Wealth, freedom, and fulfillment are not reserved for the lucky few. They are waiting for those who dare to change their habits of thought. Poverty is not just financial. It begins in the mind. A man may have little money in his pocket, but if he possesses a vision, a determination, and a mind prepared for growth, he is rich in potential. On the other hand, one may have a comfortable income, yet live in the chains of mental poverty, always thinking in terms of limitation, fear, and lack. True poverty is not measured by the balance in a bank account, but by the balance of one's thoughts. When a person consistently thinks small, expects little, and avoids responsibility, he builds a prison of limitation around himself, regardless of how much he earns. The mind is the soil from which every condition in life springs. If you plant seeds of scarcity, doubt, and resignation, the harvest will always be meager. You will see opportunities pass by, believing they belong to someone else more fortunate or more talented. You will reject challenges, thinking you are not ready, not capable, not worthy. And so you remain where you are, even as time moves on and others advance. Poverty in the mind is subtle because it convinces you that you cannot change, that life has dealt its hand and you must accept it as final. This way of thinking is the root cause of lives wasted, talents buried, and dreams abandoned. Consider the difference between two individuals with identical beginnings. One believes life is unfair, that nothing ever works in his favor, and he waits for a miracle or for someone to rescue him. The other believes that while he may lack resources now, he possesses the ability to learn, adapt, and grow. He studies, he works, he takes responsibility for every choice, and slowly he rises. The first man lives in mental poverty, regardless of what money may temporarily pass through his hands. The second man, though starting with nothing, is already wealthy in thought, and his wealth will eventually manifest in reality. Mental poverty shows itself in constant excuses. I don't have the time. I don't have the connections. I wasn't born into wealth. The system is against me. These phrases sound reasonable, but they are chains. They relieve a person of the need to try, but they also ensure he never grows. Mental wealth, by contrast, speaks a different language. I will find a way. I can learn. I can improve. I will create my own opportunity. This difference in speech is the difference in destiny. It is not the absence of money that makes one poor. It is the absence of belief, the absence of vision, the absence of action. A person with a wealthy mindset can lose everything and still rebuild, because his true wealth lies in his habits of thought. But the person with a poor mindset can inherit a fortune and lose it within years, because without the discipline of mind, money will always slip away. Real poverty, therefore, begins long before the wallet is empty. It begins the moment the mind accepts defeat as permanent. Habits are the invisible architecture of success or failure. Every action we take, every choice we make is guided by the patterns we repeat day after day. These small, often unnoticed routines build the structure of our lives just as bricks build a house. A single brick may seem insignificant, but over time it creates walls, rooms, and entire buildings. In the same way, your habits quietly design the future you will eventually step into. They are silent builders, shaping character, fortune, and destiny, whether you are aware of it or not. Success does not arrive in a sudden rush of luck or chance. It is constructed piece by piece, decision by decision, until one day the structure of achievement is visible. Failure, too, is not a catastrophe that strikes without warning. It is built gradually through neglect, through procrastination, through careless repetition of poor choices. Every cigarette smoked, every wasted hour, every dollar squandered may not seem fatal on its own, but combined over years, they form the framework of decline. Habits do not announce themselves loudly, they whisper quietly, guiding your steps toward prosperity or ruin. The greatest challenge is that habits operate below the surface of our awareness. We brush our teeth, we drive a car, we check our phones, often without conscious thought. The same is true of the ways we approach work, money, health, and relationships. If your habit is to delay tasks, you will build a life where opportunities slip through your fingers. If your habit is to save a portion of every dollar earned, you will create a foundation of security and eventual abundance. If your habit is to learn daily, even in small amounts, you will construct a mind that grows more valuable with time. The invisible architecture of habits will never fail to reflect itself in visible results. Examine the lives of successful men and women, and you will find consistency, discipline, and intentional routines at their core. They rise early, they plan their days, they invest in themselves, and they persist even when motivation wanes. They understand that habits, not fleeting emotions, are the true engines of achievement. Conversely, those who remain trapped in mediocrity often have habits that erode progress. Oversleeping, complaining, avoiding challenges, or spending recklessly. Their outcomes are not accidents. They are the natural result of the blueprints they have followed, whether they knew it or not. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are. If you wish to change your future, you must first change your patterns. Replace one destructive habit with one constructive habit, and over time, the architecture of your life begins to transform. Like the steady work of an architect shaping a great cathedral, each small action contributes to something larger than itself. Habits are patient builders, and they never tire. They will either build you a palace of success or a prison of failure, depending on which ones you choose to cultivate. Excuses are the fuel of mediocrity. They are the comfortable lies we tell ourselves to justify why we remain where we are instead of striving for what we could become. An excuse feels safe because it shields us from the discomfort of responsibility. It allows us to point outward rather than inward, to blame circumstances, luck, or other people instead of facing the truth that our choices shape our destiny. Excuses are subtle thieves. They steal our potential quietly, one justification at a time, until years pass and we look back wondering where the time went and why our lives remain unchanged. Every person is tempted to use excuses. It is easy to say, "I don't have the time," "I wasn't given the chance," "I'm too old," or "I'll start tomorrow." These phrases roll off the tongue with such familiarity that we forget they are the very walls keeping us trapped. Excuses do not change reality. They only change our perception of it. A man who excuses his lack of effort convinces himself he has no power to act, and in doing so he abandons his own strength. He becomes passive, waiting for someone else to solve his problems, and in that waiting he slowly surrenders his future. Mediocrity thrives on excuses because they provide comfort in failure. To admit that you could have done more, learned more, or tried harder is painful. But to say the world was unfair, that luck was against you, that someone else had an advantage, that is soothing. It softens the sting of regret, but it also ensures that regret will grow stronger with time. The man who excuses his failures is spared the short-term discomfort of honesty, but is condemned to the long-term bitterness of unrealized potential. Great achievers, on the other hand, refuse to feed on excuses. They understand that responsibility is not a burden but a form of freedom. When you accept responsibility for your circumstances, you also accept the power to change them. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you control how you respond, how you adapt, and how you move forward. This mindset strips excuses of their power. Instead of saying, "I can't," the achiever says, "How can I?" Instead of saying, "I don't have enough," he says, "What can I do with what I have?" This simple shift in language transforms obstacles into challenges and challenges into opportunities. Excuses are attractive because they relieve you from effort, but effort is the very thing that builds greatness. Mediocrity is never forced upon anyone, it is chosen one excuse at a time. Each time you justify why you didn't act, why you didn't try, why you didn't persist, you are building a life of average results. But when you eliminate excuses, you open the door to growth, to progress, to excellence. The moment you stop feeding mediocrity with justifications, you begin to starve it, and in its place, determination and discipline begin to thrive. Procrastination steals opportunity before it even arrives. It is the quiet thief of progress, the subtle delay that turns potential into regret. Every time we say, "I'll do it tomorrow," we convince ourselves that time is endless, that tomorrow will somehow offer more energy, more clarity, more motivation. But tomorrow is only a dream. It never truly comes. What exists is only today, this moment, this chance. When we postpone action, we are not waiting for a better time. We are surrendering the time we already have. Opportunity does not wait patiently, it passes by, and when we hesitate too long, it chooses someone else who was ready. The most dangerous part of procrastination is how harmless it feels. A few minutes scrolling through distractions, a day spent putting off an important task, a week avoiding a decision. It all seems small, almost insignificant. Yet, like drops of water wearing away stone, procrastination erodes potential little by little until the damage is irreversible. A man does not ruin his future in one dramatic moment. He loses it in countless small delays, in promises to himself that are never kept. By the time he realizes what he has lost, the opportunities have already passed into the hands of the decisive. Those who build great lives are not necessarily smarter or more talented than others. They simply act when others hesitate. They understand that conditions will never be perfect, that waiting for the right moment is a form of self-deception. Action creates clarity, while delay creates doubt. A person who begins even imperfectly is already moving forward, learning, adjusting, and growing. Meanwhile, the procrastinator is still standing at the starting line, imagining what could have been. The race of life rewards those who move, not those who dream about moving. Procrastination also robs us of confidence. Each time we delay a task, we quietly tell ourselves that we cannot handle it now, and that message sinks deeper into our minds. We begin to believe in our own hesitation. The longer we postpone, the heavier the task feels, until it becomes a mountain we are too afraid to climb. On the other hand, when we act promptly, we reinforce the belief that we are capable, decisive, and in control. Confidence grows through action, never through delay. The opportunities of life are like windows. They open for a time, but they do not remain open forever. Jobs, relationships, ideas, investments, and dreams all have their seasons. Procrastination blinds us to this truth, making us think we can always come back later. But later often means never. By the time we return, the window has closed, the chance has vanished, and we are left only with regret. Procrastination steals more than just opportunities. It steals the person you could have become. Every delay keeps you chained to the same spot, while decisive action builds a new future with each step. To overcome it is to take back control of your life, to claim the opportunities that belong to you before they quietly pass away forever. Short-term thinking blinds us to long-term rewards. It tempts us with the immediate pleasure of today while quietly stealing the greater fulfillment of tomorrow. Human nature seeks comfort, ease, and quick satisfaction, yet success, wealth, and lasting happiness are rarely found in the momentary indulgence. They are the product of patience, discipline, and the willingness to sacrifice today for something greater in the future. The danger of short-term thinking is that it disguises itself as harmless choices, a skipped workout, an unnecessary purchase, a wasted hour. Yet each one is a brick in the wall that keeps us from the life we truly desire. Those who think only in the short term often find themselves trapped in cycles of frustration. They spend their money as quickly as they earn it, never building savings or investments. They avoid learning new skills because it feels uncomfortable, not realizing that the discomfort of learning would have created opportunities that last a lifetime. They choose entertainment over effort, leisure over labor, and comfort over challenge. In doing so, they trade the possibility of a better future for the fleeting ease of the present. Short-term thinking makes promises it cannot keep. It whispers, "Enjoy this now, and you'll still have tomorrow." But tomorrow eventually arrives empty-handed. Long-term rewards, by contrast, are built on vision. They require us to look beyond today and ask, what will this choice mean a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? The person who saves a portion of every paycheck may not see immediate change, but years later, he holds security and freedom. The student who dedicates hours to study may feel tired today, but tomorrow he steps into opportunities others only dream of. The entrepreneur who reinvests profits instead of spending them may live modestly for a season, but he eventually builds a business that supports him for life. Every great success story is a testament to someone who thought beyond the moment, who endured short-term discomfort for long-term prosperity. The problem is that short-term thinking narrows our vision. It convinces us that only the present matters, that tomorrow is too far away to worry about. But tomorrow is nothing more than the collection of today's decisions. A man who consistently chooses the easy road today will inevitably find himself on the hard road tomorrow. The truth is, unavoidable comfort now often means struggle later, while discipline now often means freedom later. If we wish to rise above mediocrity, we must train ourselves to see further ahead. Every choice carries a price, and the wise ask whether that price is worth the long-term outcome. The essence of maturity is the ability to delay gratification, to endure present inconvenience for future advantage. The great irony of life is that those who chase immediate pleasure rarely find lasting happiness, while those who practice patience eventually enjoy both present peace and future reward. Short-term thinking blinds us, but long-term vision opens the path to lasting success. Wealth is built by daily disciplines, not sudden windfalls. The stories of overnight success may capture our attention, but they are illusions that ignore the years of unseen effort behind them. True wealth, whether financial, intellectual, or spiritual, is the result of small, consistent actions practiced over long stretches of time. Just as a tree grows not from one rainfall but from countless days of steady nourishment, wealth emerges from daily habits that compound quietly until they create extraordinary results. Sudden riches gained without discipline often disappear as quickly as they arrive, but wealth built through daily effort becomes a foundation that endures. Daily discipline is the simple act of doing the right thing over and over, regardless of how small it seems. Saving a fraction of income may feel insignificant, yet over time it grows into security and independence. Reading a few pages of a book each day may feel trivial, yet years later it forms the foundation of wisdom and insight. Exercising consistently may not transform the body overnight, but its cumulative effect creates health, strength, and longevity. The secret is not in dramatic gestures, but in steady, persistent repetition. Wealth is not the result of what you occasionally do, but of what you continually practice. Those who rely on sudden windfalls often misunderstand the nature of prosperity. They believe a lottery ticket, an inheritance, or a lucky break will change everything. But history shows that money without discipline is quickly lost. People who gain wealth suddenly but lack the habits to manage it usually find themselves in deeper struggle than before. The problem is not the money, it is the absence of the character required to sustain it. Wealth is not a number, it is a mindset, a way of thinking and acting that protects and multiplies resources over time. Without that mindset, sudden fortune becomes nothing more than temporary possession. On the other hand, the disciplined person builds wealth brick by brick. He may start with very little, but he saves when others spend, he learns when others are idle, he works while others complain. His progress may look slow, almost invisible, but it is steady, and over the years, the results of his discipline begin to tower above the fleeting gains of others. This type of wealth cannot be taken away easily, because it is not just in the bank. It is in the person. It is in the habits, the mindset, the character that created it. The principle is universal: what is gained with discipline endures, while what is gained without it fades. Sudden windfalls may create excitement, but they do not create security. Only daily disciplines, those quiet, repeated acts of responsibility and vision, can build something lasting. Wealth, in every sense of the word, is not the reward of chance, but the harvest of consistent practice, and those who commit to discipline will always find themselves richer in the end. The wrong mindset can trap you no matter your income level. A person may earn a high salary, live in a fine home, and appear successful to the outside world, yet still be imprisoned by scarcity thinking, fear of loss, and an inability to grow beyond his own limitations. At the same time, someone with very little material wealth can be free, forward-looking, and prepared to build a future because his thoughts are aligned with possibility instead of limitation. Wealth and poverty are not conditions of the wallet alone, they are conditions of the mind, and without the right mindset, even abundance can feel like lack. Many individuals believe that more money will automatically solve their problems, but without the discipline to manage it, money only magnifies the flaws in one's thinking. A person with a poor mindset spends recklessly, avoids responsibility, and believes tomorrow will somehow fix today's mistakes. No matter how much he earns, he will always live in quiet desperation, because his habits of thought keep him chained to the same struggles. He may upgrade his possessions, but he does not upgrade his perspective. Eventually, the income he worked so hard to achieve slips through his fingers because the mindset that governs his choices is rooted in weakness. The wrong mindset expresses itself in many forms: excuses, fear, short-term gratification, and constant comparison to others. When a person believes the world owes him something, he traps himself in entitlement rather than progress. When he fears failure more than he desires growth, he never takes the risks that could open the door to greater achievement. When he seeks only immediate comfort, he sacrifices long-term security, and when he measures himself against others, he becomes blind to his own potential. These patterns of thought are prisons, and they remain locked regardless of how much income passes through one's hands. On the other hand, the right mindset transforms any situation. A man of limited means who believes in growth, who seeks knowledge, who practices discipline, and who acts with courage will eventually rise above his circumstances. His income may be small today, but his vision is large, and over time his results reflect that vision. He understands that wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank. He invests not only in money but in himself, his character, his discipline, his capacity to create value. This mindset allows him to adapt, to recover from setbacks, and to seize opportunities others fail to recognize. It is not income that determines freedom. It is perspective. The wrong mindset convinces you that you are stuck, that nothing can change, that the world is against you. The right mindset shows you that every choice is a step toward transformation. This is why people with great resources can still feel poor, while people with little can begin building wealth in every area of life. The mind is the true measure of prosperity, and without reshaping it, no amount of income can set you free. Successful people replace excuses with responsibility. They understand that every excuse is a small surrender, a way of handing over control of their lives to something outside themselves. When a person says, "I can't because of this," or "I failed because of that," he is choosing to believe that his life is determined by forces beyond his reach. But those who succeed refuse to think that way. They look at the same obstacles others complain about and instead ask, "What can I do? How can I change? Where is the opportunity in this?" By shifting from excuse to responsibility, they shift from being victims of circumstance to masters of circumstance. Excuses may feel comforting in the moment because they remove the sting of failure. They allow someone to say, "It wasn't my fault," and avoid the discomfort of facing their own choices. But this comfort comes at a terrible cost. It traps the person in mediocrity. Excuses never improve a situation, they only justify it. A man who constantly blames his lack of progress on the economy, on luck, or on the actions of others is handing away his power. He may protect his pride temporarily, but he sacrifices his growth permanently. Responsibility, on the other hand, can be uncomfortable, but it is the only path to change. When successful people take responsibility, they do not waste time dwelling on what went wrong. Instead, they ask what they could have done differently and what they can do better next time. This mindset transforms setbacks into lessons and failures into stepping stones. By owning their results, they gain the ability to change those results. If they spend unwisely, they do not blame the market. They adjust their habits. If they fail in business, they do not curse their competitors. They study, learn, and improve. Responsibility is empowering because it puts the individual back in control of his destiny. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is rarely talent or opportunity. It is accountability. The successful person treats his word as law, his commitments as sacred, and his failures as chances to grow. He understands that even when circumstances are unfair, his response is always his own. In contrast, the unsuccessful person finds endless reasons why nothing can change. He becomes a collector of excuses, and in doing so, he builds a prison of his own making. To replace excuses with responsibility is to choose freedom over limitation. It means accepting that while you cannot always control what happens, you can always control how you act. It means realizing that no one will hand you success, you must create it. Successful people know that every decision, every action, and every habit shapes the future, and they take ownership of that truth. Responsibility is the cornerstone of achievement, and those who embrace it unlock a power that excuses can never provide, the power to change their lives in any direction they choose. Every choice compounds into wealth or poverty. Life is not shaped by one grand decision alone, but by the countless small decisions we make each day. Each choice is like a seed planted in the soil of time. Some seeds grow into prosperity, strength, and freedom, while others grow into debt, weakness, and limitation. The power of compounding lies in its quiet persistence. One choice may seem insignificant, but repeated over weeks, months, and years, it builds a path that either leads to abundance or to lack. Consider the choice to save or spend. A single purchase instead of saving a few dollars feels harmless, yet repeated 1,000 times, it forms a habit of consumption rather than growth. On the other hand, consistently setting aside even a small portion of income creates security, investment, and wealth over time. The decision is the same each day: to preserve or to waste, to build or to consume. And though each act feels small, their accumulated weight determines financial destiny. The same principle applies to health, knowledge, and relationships. The choice to exercise or to remain idle, to read or to scroll aimlessly, to nurture relationships or neglect them, all of these choices compound. The body you live in tomorrow is the sum of the choices you make today. The wisdom you carry in 5 years is built by the daily decision to learn or to ignore. The trust and love of your relationships are strengthened or weakened by the way you choose to speak, to listen, and to care each day. Wealth and poverty are not merely financial conditions, they are reflections of how your choices have compounded over time. What makes this principle powerful is that it works silently. No one becomes poor or wealthy in a single day. A man who wastes time once will see no consequence, but a man who wastes it daily will wake up years later wondering why nothing has changed. A woman who invests a little in her growth each day may see no immediate difference, but over years, she becomes a leader, an expert, and a person of influence. The compounding of choices rewards patience and punishes neglect. The tragedy is that most people underestimate the weight of small decisions. They believe only the big choices matter, but it is the daily habits, repeated endlessly, that shape the outcome of life. Each excuse, each delay, each indulgence builds poverty. Each disciplined act, each sacrifice, each effort builds wealth. The law is impartial and applies to everyone equally. To understand this truth is to recognize that today matters. The choices you make now are not isolated, they are investments in your future, for better or worse. Every choice compounds, and the direction of that compounding determines whether you walk toward freedom or captivity, abundance or scarcity, wealth or poverty. To change your life, you must first change your habits of thought. Every action you take, every decision you make, begins first as a thought. The way you see yourself, the way you view the world, and the beliefs you carry form the foundation of your destiny. If your thoughts are rooted in fear, doubt, and limitation, your actions will follow the same path, and your life will remain confined. But if your thoughts are guided by vision, faith, and possibility, your actions will expand, and your life will grow in ways you once thought impossible. The mind is the soil, and whatever seeds are planted there will determine the harvest. Most people attempt to change their circumstances without ever addressing the source of those circumstances: their thinking. They work harder, move to different places, or look for new opportunities, yet carry the same habits of thought with them. And so the same patterns repeat, because the cause has never changed. A man who believes he cannot succeed will sabotage himself, no matter the chance given to him. A woman who thinks she is undeserving will find ways to block her own growth, even when help is offered. Until the thought patterns change, the results remain the same. Habits of thought are powerful because they operate automatically. They shape how you interpret every event in your life. The person with negative thought habits sees obstacles in every opportunity, while the one with constructive thought habits sees opportunities in every obstacle. One person looks at a challenge and says, "This is too hard, I cannot do it," while another looks at the same challenge and says, "This is difficult, but it will help me grow." Both face the same circumstance, yet their lives will move in completely different directions, determined not by the challenge itself, but by the way they think about it. Changing habits of thought begins with awareness. You must listen to the silent voice inside your head and recognize whether it builds or destroys. Do your thoughts focus on problems or solutions, on fear or on possibility, on excuses or on responsibility? Once you see the patterns, you have the power to change them. Replace self-limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of saying, "I can't," begin asking, "How can I?" Instead of telling yourself, "I don't have enough," remind yourself, "I can create more." Each small shift in thought reshapes your actions, and each new action reshapes your life. The greatest truth is that thought creates reality. Every achievement began first as an idea, and every failure began first as a surrender in the mind. To change your habits of thought is to reprogram the very foundation of your destiny. The future does not change by accident. It changes the moment you decide to think differently, to align your thoughts with growth, discipline, and vision, and from that alignment to build a new life from the inside out. When you look closely, the thread running through every truth we've uncovered is this: your life is nothing more than the sum of your thoughts and the habits that grow from them. Poverty or wealth, success or failure, mediocrity or greatness, all of it begins in the invisible realm of the mind. Excuses, procrastination, short-term thinking, and fear are the habits of thought that build walls around your potential. Discipline, responsibility, vision, and belief are the habits that open doors and create freedom. Wealth is not an accident, nor is poverty a mystery. Both are the result of compounded choices guided by the patterns you allow to govern your mind. If you desire change, you must begin where all change truly begins, not in the world around you, but in the world within you. For as the mind is shaped, so too is the destiny of the person who owns it.